Homesteading is a lifestyle choice. Whether you have a large or small space, you can move towards self-sufficiency. Start with what you need and add more as you can. Start small and grow in confidence. Start with the basics and increase your knowledge. At Bryant's Roost, we believe in sustainability, education, and forward momentum. Follow us on our journey for tips, hacks, and insights. We can grow together.
These brooders are amazing. I couldn't be happier with this company.
We absolutely love these cages.
One at a time, okay, guys?
Hey guys, welcome to another Coturnix Corner. Glad everyone could join us tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm glad to see that our weather throughout the U.S. is finally starting to calm down a little bit. Even though here in Florida, we're getting down to like 48 tonight, and that's pretty chilly for us. We have a great show lined up for you guys tonight. We're trying something new here on the channel where we are maybe every other week. We're going to introduce a relatively new breeder or breeders that were kind of, by the wayside. You don't hear a whole lot about them. Mainly because there are a lot of really, really good breeders. We listed a few of them in the last recommended breeders list, and a few of these breeders, they're doing the right thing. They're doing things the right way to get started with quail, and they're starting to become a little bit more commercial. So we want to introduce them to you guys. You can ask them questions, and that may be another opportunity for you to acquire hatching eggs or birds and whatnot. So today joining us will be Carey Blackmon from Double R Farms, and we'll get him out here in just a second. But first, I do have a couple quick announcements that I want to run through. As always, thanks to our sponsors, Hatching Time, Thieving Otter Farm, Gopher Ridge Quail, and Bryant's Roost. All these sponsors donate stuff for us to give away here on the channel, which is really nice of them. And it's nice to be able to give you guys some stuff that, like hatching eggs and gift certificates and whatnot. And speaking of the giveaways, we're going to do something a little bit different starting now. Instead of waiting till the end of the show to call off the winners, what I'm going to do is, depending on how many giveaways we have each night, like tonight I think we have 3. So we're going to do one kind of early on. We're going to do one about halfway through the show, and then do another one towards the end of the show. And the reason for that is it seems like when I wait till the end of the show, some people may not be watching, and they never claim their hatching eggs or gift certificate, whatever it might be. And then I've got to, hunt them down, or we just, forget about the prize and carry it over to next week. So we're going to go ahead and try that this week by, like I say, I'll probably just pick some people out of the chat room. If we get a good question for our guest and it's something that really catches our eye, we'll go ahead and select them as a winner. So keep that in mind when you are putting your comments in. Let's see what else we got going today. Let's see. The giveaways tonight is going to be a $50 Hatching Time gift certificate, 30 count of hatching eggs from Thieving Otter Farm, and a 30 count of mixed hatching eggs from Gopher Ridge Quail. We had Bryant's Roost last week, so we're going to give her a break on this week. Shout out to our moderator. You see him there in the chat room, Carey Blackmon. He takes care of all the bad people that come in here and want to disrupt our stream. We had somebody in there Sunday kind of mess it up, but anyhow, Carey does a good job at that, so thanks, Carey, for that. Also, if you guys are around on Sundays, join us for Morning Musings. It's Coffee and Quail with Terry, and that is every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I don't blow it and oversleep or just totally forget about it. I've done that many times. So Today, okay, I got another thing that I want to bring up. This is from the American Coturnix Breeders Association. Rebecca Lynch brought this to my attention. It's regarding House Bill 59. And the ACBA has learned recently of a new bill, which is House Bill 59, introduced into the New Mexico legislature, which is supposed to make it easier for New Mexican residents to keep and breed quail. The way it stands right now, the quail out there are treated like a wild game bird and are heavily regulated by the Department of Fish and Game. What I did was I posted this whole write-up that Rebecca gave me over on the Facebook group page, and it is pinned over there. So if you want a little more information on that, go over there and read that. And even if you're not in New Mexico, if you're in another state, you can always, reach out to your local lawmakers and let them know, hey, we back this bill, and kind of, help out the residents of New Mexico. So the next thing that I'm going to bring up, and that is going to be the winner of our Coturnix Kids program, which we do over on the CoturnixCorner.com website. We have a group of judges over there that once a month will select a winner who submits a story, that kind of stands out. And it's been going pretty good. We've got sponsors also that donate prizes every month, and those sponsors are Homestead Harvest. They donate a 40-pound bag of feed to get them started with food. Hatching Time donates a 2-unit cage setup. Thieving Otter Farm gives us some hatching eggs. Bryant's Roost purchases a incubator to get the kids started with. Coturnix Corner, we give them a Coturnix Kids program tumbler and a Tractor Supply gift certificate. And that also comes from the Coturnix Corner community. And then Sunny Place Homestead sets them up with waters, feeders, and whatnot. So it's a really good program, guys. If you want to get your kids into it, you can head over to CoturnixCorner.com, and there's a whole page dedicated just to that. So this month's winner is going to Riggins. Riggins is 5 years old, and his write-up says, I help feed the cat and the dog. It is important to feed the cat and the dog because we can't leave them waiting. They would be super hungry. We feed them in the morning and after dinner. I like to give them treats too. I help my mom and my animals by making sure that they had food and water. I love my dog and my cat. So Riggins, congratulations. You got a very beautiful dog there, and I like your cat. Your cat actually looks just like our cat. So congratulations, Riggins. I already have your information as far as shipping. Your mom gave me that a week or so ago. We're going to go ahead and forward that information over to our sponsors. So from here on out, you should start getting a few things in the mail. And once you get your incubator, your mom will let me know, and I'll have your hatching eggs shipped out. So again, congratulations, Riggins, and thanks for your entry into that program. So I think that is about it right now for the announcements. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Carey Blackmon. Carey, welcome to Coturnix Corner. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Carey, I think everybody already knows, but what's the name of your farm, and what are you going to be talking about a little bit today?
So the name of my farm is Double R Farms. I chose to name it after two of my late children and to help continue their legacy. And I'm going to talk about what got me into quail and why I like quail, and also, as you know, I like chickens as well. And that is actually, chickens was kind of my lead in. That's what got me into quail.
Yeah, I was looking on your website. It looks like you come from a long line of chicken breeders.
Yeah, my granddaddy, he had chickens all of my life, and that's actually where I learned about how to do it, how it works, and all that good stuff. And I've had chickens most of my life. Maybe there was about 8 or 10 years where I lived, I could not have them, but if I've had the option, I've had them. And
you're big into showing birds and whatnot. I know you're a member of the ACBA also?
I am a member of the ACBA. I'm a member of several different organizations, and I do like to show birds. I am partial to the Rhode Island Red. I have, you can look on my site, look on my Facebook. I have some that I'm pretty proud of, and they made some good yard birds for you.
Yeah, Carey sent me out a half a dozen Rhode Island Red chicks. I don't know, it's been about 3 months now, I believe.
Yeah, sounds
yeah.
about right.
Yep.
Because that's when I started shipping eggs or shipping live chicks, and I was curious, that time of year how everything would be, and so you had said something about wanting some, so I thought that was a perfect lead in to test it out.
Absolutely. No, it worked out great, and they arrived, perfect condition and everything. So, okay, you've got a little presentation. We'll go ahead and bring that up, and just let me know when you want to change to the next scene.
All right. So this is the logo that I have. The 2 R's is actually the same font of the tattoo that I have in their memory, and rfarmsal.com is the website. So you can go on to the next one. And obviously when people think quail, they think Pharaoh. And this is some of the ones that I have here. You can see also that I use hatching time cages for my quail. That is partially Terry's fault. I really liked how everything was integrated with them, how they were plastic, and how I could pressure wash them. So that works out really good. And my quails seem to like it pretty well. You want to go to the next one? Here we have, this is in some of their brooders. I use their brooders as well. Just some candid shots that I took of them. And let's see, you can go to the next one. Yeah, so this one is some hatching eggs. We ship, obviously, the Pharaoh Jumbo. I have Rosetta, Tuxedo, Italian. As of last Sunday, the cat's out of the bag that I have a Jumbo White line. I have some range, some Tibetans, some Egyptians. I also have a line of Pansy Fees that I'm working with. And I have some really solid cinnamon quail as well.
Nice.
So
and a lot of your lines come from Rebecca Lynch, don't they, and Michael Rose?
So my lines come from 3 people, really. My Pharaoh Jumbos, I got some from you right before you quit shipping eggs. I got a lot of them from Jennifer at Bryant's Roost. And that's kind of the 2 different bloodlines that I use for spiral breeding of those. And most of the other ones, they are from either Rebecca or Michael.
Gotcha. Cool.
Hey, as a young breeder, some people have to go through the headache of starting out with less than desirable bloodlines. I've been very fortunate to make some contacts and get to know some people, which is obviously the best way. Make friends, and when you do that, they take interest in you because they know that people that are like-minded are the best way to have a good breeding program. And there's enough breeders that aren't really that good out there. They just like to replicate. So, we try to keep them clean, try to keep the bloodlines clean, and keep everything good the way it's supposed to be.
Sure. Absolutely.
So you can go to the next screen. Yeah, there's a couple. The one on the right is the cinnamon that I originally got. I got those in as live birds. And on the left, you can see the picture at the bottom is one that hatched out about 3 weeks ago. Cinnamon quail are very, very difficult. Because they have the red eyes, they're very sensitive to light. So I have found that using a blue light in my brooder works really well with those. And there's a tuxedo that I hatched out. Every so often I like to check my fertility on my shipping eggs. And so I'll go into my breeder barn and I'll take a couple from each set of breeders, and I'll just throw them all in the incubator and see what happens. And here lately, I've had an explosion of quail in my hatcher. So my fertility is solid.
Nice.
But sometimes I find myself with 150 plus baby birds to figure out what to do with.
Right. Have you started shipping live Coturnix yet?
I have on a couple of occasions. I really don't like doing it day old, 2 day old, like with chicks. I like to wait until they're about a week old, and I do use a rather hot heating pad in the shipping box. And after I've shipped week olds successfully to California from Alabama, so now I do only do next day on those.
Right.
I don't do regular priority, especially with quail. They're delicate when they're little.
Sure.
And we like to follow the law too. And post office like to have live birds shipped next day.
Okay.
Let's see. Yep, there we go. There's a picture of my Tibetans on the left and my pansy fees. I want to say in that picture, those chicks are about 2 weeks old. And you can see in that hatching time brooder, I've got the blue light in there as well. Once I switched over to the blue light in my brooders, I found that with the blue lights, the birds are very calm. I can stick my hand in there, and instead of them wanting to flush and go crazy, they're curious and they want to see what I have.
Sure.
And I know some of that's nutrition, but I think also some of that is due to the lighting.
Let me go back here to this other screen. Quick question for you. I've got a whole bunch of silky chicks that I've hatched out this past week. Would I benefit using a blue light on them? Because right now I'm using just your standard, I think it's a 100-watt halogen bulb, and it's a regular white bulb. So
I don't use lights for heat in my brooder.
Okay.
Those blue lights are LED, and I think they're like the equivalent to 15 watt, so they use very little power. In the hatching time brooders, they have the roughly 2 foot long radiant heater at the top.
Yep.
I use those, and also I sell brooder plates on my website, and I use those brooder plates in my brooder pens. The boxes that I have aside from the hatching time units, I use those to, just short of cook the little chicks, because as we all know, quail are very delicate that first week. So it's really important to keep them warm. But I'm a huge fan of the plate for brooding.
I've used, as long as I've had quail, I've tried the heat plates. I wasn't a big fan of them, just because I like to see that the heat's on, and I can't tell that it's producing heat. If all the chicks are under it, are they cold? With the light, I know it's there. Looking at a heat lamp, I can tell that it's on. I know that it's warm in there. But I've always done my quail chicks under heat lamps. And I'm just wondering if chickens can be done the same way, or does it affect them, not having a light cycle going on? Or
So with baby chicks, they do like a light cycle. Yeah. But like in your quail room out there, or where you are, the light comes on, the light goes off. They do work best with 12 plus hours a day. It helps stimulate their growth at a young age. So, and it's the closest thing you can do to outside light is by providing them that actual light. So with you using light in your brooder for heat, that is a good thing.
Okay, cool. All right, let me get back to your presentation, and you can continue on. If I hit the right button here, there we go. You have any more on this one?
And so on the right, the pansy fees, one of the things that I wanted to mention to people when they hatch out quail, if you'll notice around the face, there's some yellowing in the feathers. That goes away when they finish getting rid of all their first week or so feathers, because those actually hatched out a yellow color. And then when that went away, they started, the feed gene really popped out. So I like that. Those, I was out there with the ones on the right earlier today, and they're at 4 weeks now, and they have no yellowing at all. It's all black and white, and it's really, really nice. So you can go to the next slide. Yeah, that's inside the another brooder where I have some range, and it looks like some Tibetans in there as well. Next slide. Yeah, that's another shot of some more pharaohs. I have some pharaohs that to me they're just beautiful. I like the color pattern. I have probably about 200 pharaoh right now. The next slide. Oh yeah, that. Cool. So you can see the yellow chicks on the right. That is what some of them look like. That was just a picture that I had, and it was of chickens, which was what led me into quail. A lot of people may or may not realize that the genetics are somewhat the same, but with quail, you can try stuff and see the results a lot faster, which is what got me into the nutrition side. And I can, when you have quality feed that has the proper amounts of all the stuff that they're supposed to have, they are a lot more docile and a lot better behaved when you stick your hand in there. In this picture, shortly after I took these couple pictures, they actually came closer to the camera and started trying to see what was on it. And when they found out that they could see other chicks on the screen of my phone, they all, several of them jumped out into the feeder that's on the front side of the brooder and was looking at the phone. And I think this particular one, the brooders that I have are the 15-inch ones, and this is up on the 3rd level. And I'm like, oh, y'all are going to fall. That might not work out good. You can go to the next slide. So Pastured Poultry Conference, I went to that a couple weeks ago. I like the meat and eggs side of the industry. I'm into homesteading, and that's one of the things that's been appealing to me. Again, that's why I like quail, because people that want to provide their own meat and eggs can with quail in a very small space. And I learned a lot of stuff from the APPPA as it relates to the chicken side of meat and eggs of the industry that really ties into what's going on with quail. So like I said before, they're extremely close together. And Poultry Nerds, I had to throw in a shameless plug for my podcast. Sure. That is actually co-hosted with Jennifer Bryant from Bryant's Roost. So
nice.
And I want to say, is that the last one? No, there's
one
another
over there. Yep.
Yeah. So on the chicken side, I raise breasts, the American breast, to be correct. I do raise Cornish cross as well. I have several meat buyers that get those from me. I have the Delaware. I also have a line called De La Rosa. It is a heritage bird sex link, one that is made using 2 heritage birds. And I say the best for last, my favorite, the standard red.
Nice.
And I believe that is the last.
Yep, that one looks like the last one there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm waiting. About when do your Rhode Island Reds usually start laying? About 4 or 5 months?
Give or take. With that, it can be as early as 4. It's going to depend on how much light they're getting.
Right.
What works best is like a 14 to 16 hour a day light cycle. And also, if you're giving them, which I'm feel overly confident that you feed really good feed, the nutrition plays a very big thing into it as well.
Right.
But having, with you being in Florida, I would say easily around 4 months, give or take.
Cool.
So your wife should be really happy that she can get some chicken eggs out of the yard,
right?
Pretty soon.
Yeah. I'm just letting these guys go on a natural light cycle. I'm not giving them any supplemental light at all. They actually the roosters just started crowing about a week ago. And it's funny because it sounds more like a turkey than a rooster. It's just the weirdest crow I ever heard. But it's cool.
When they first start trying to crow, it's hilarious to me.
Yep.
I had some breasts that I had in a grow out pen in my barn that are 8 weeks old. And when I went in there to start putting them in their pen, I got some Aluma coops for them, and they started trying to crow, and it was hilarious because it almost sounds like a Coturnix.
I was going to ask you about them coops. That's something new that you're offering now, right?
Yes, sir. We signed up to be a dealer with the Aluma coop a couple of weeks ago. And I just got in my first shipment, so I can put them together, learn about them, test them out, and have them here in my warehouse so people can pick them up.
Sure. Is that something that can be modified to use for people that want to put their quail outside? For like a run, a natural run or something.
So let's talk about that in a few weeks. Okay. I actually am going to I've seen a lot of people talk about tractoring quail. And my plan, I have some that are hatching out next week, I believe. And when they're a couple weeks old, I plan on putting them in one, just so I can test that out and see how it works. Yeah. These things are super durable. The wire mesh is really thick on the sidewalls. They're welded aluminum construction, so I know I don't have to worry about a mouse, a cat, a dog, coyote.
Predators. Yep.
Where I'm at, I have coyotes right across the road from me. I hear them.
Oh, man.
And coyotes and raccoons are a huge issue for me. So I can't, with a good conscience, let anything free range.
Right.
Because I know that it won't survive. So that was what led me to these Aluma coops, is looking for something that was lightweight, durable, and would withstand anything.
Right.
Pretty rugged.
Cool. Before we jump into the chat room, can you tell us how people can go about ordering hatching eggs from you and or chicks when you've got them available, or when you're going to start shipping, stuff like that?
Inventory is pretty live on my website. So if it says that something is available, it is available to be shipped. I ship eggs on Mondays to anywhere. Sometimes Tuesday, Wednesday, if you're in like the Southeast, I'll ship them out as late as Wednesday. But I don't really trust our postal system to do things even with priority mail. Right. Which is why if you're beyond the Southeast, I'm shipping on Monday.
Gotcha. Cool. And all your colors are pretty much available, or you're still working on some of that?
I have some on my website. I'm not, until I've bred it about fourth generation, I don't like to ship them. I need to know that the vigor is good, and I need to know the coloring is right, because like with the cinnamons and the range and those, they're not extremely common. And if somebody pays the money for those, I want to make sure they're getting what they paid for.
It's going to breed true. Exactly. Yep. No, that's a good way to do it. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and jump over into the chat room real quick. I'm not going to read every comment. I did see quite a few questions popping up. Again, guys, remember, if you have a comment for Carey or me, type the letter Q in front of your question, and that way we won't miss it. I try to look for question marks also. But anyhow, type the letter Q in front of it. And we are also going to select one of our first winners. I really don't know how this is going to work out. Hopefully it will work. I know it seems like when I wait till the end of the show to select the prize winners, we don't have people claim their prize, whether they're not sticking around to the end of the show and not hearing about it. I don't know. So we're going to try this for a week or two and see how it works out. And if it does, we'll just keep doing that. GIS Herp saying that mic is hot. Dial it back a little bit. I don't think mine's hot.
Yeah, I can dial mine back.
I can do it from here, Carey. I just bump both of them back a little bit. It's probably mine. It is peaking a little bit there. Okay, Carey did post. You guys, just so you know that winners, make sure you send your email, your name, address, email address, phone number to Terry@CoturnixCorner.com if you are called, and we will get that to the people that need to have it. Let's see here. Hey, Wendell made it in. Cool. Hurricane Covey made it from Port Charlotte. Good deal. I noticed you weren't in there Sunday, though, Wendell. We got a whole bunch of congratulations going on for Riggins. Absolutely. Appreciate that. And for any of the judges that are in the house tonight, thank you guys for... I see Dawn's in there. She's one of our judges, so thank you.
Yeah, I love the Coturnix Kids project. That, when it comes to poultry in a whole, if we don't get kids involved, it's going to just be commercialized.
Exactly.
So I really like seeing kids get involved.
Yep. All right. Looks like Savage Daughter Farm is going to get some hatching eggs from Thieving Otter Farm. And if you can make sure that you send me the information that we requested to Terry@CoturnixCorner.com, I will make sure that you get your hatching eggs. Okay, let me get down to some of these questions here. Wasn't for me. Fat Country says, Carey, thanks for taking the time to tell us about your farm.
Sure.
Becky says, great lines. Okay, here's one for you. Jolly says, do blue fawns breed true?
That I do not know.
I was going to say, that's a question for Rebecca, and I think I saw her in here. Rebecca, if you can jump on that if you got time, we'd appreciate it.
I would imagine if it would depend on whether your blue fawns were heterozygous or homozygous.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest question that would need to be answered.
Okay, Mrs. B says, do you find that hens tend to prolapse as they are nearing the end of their laying?
I mean, I have a hen that's maybe about 10 years old that still lays. No, she doesn't lay like she used to, but I don't know. I think that would be an individual case-by-case thing. Some breeds probably do and some don't.
We actually had a question very similar to that pop up on Sunday, but I think that was more along the lines of breeding for really large eggs, causing prolapses, or can it cause prolapses? I think that's what it was about.
Now, if you're trying to get large eggs, with quail, anything 23, 25 gram and bigger, that's is going to cause some prolapse. Yeah, it is huge. Yeah. It's going to cause some prolapsing if it happens a lot. And for me, with my breeding program, once I identify a double yoker, a lot of times when the eggs are that big, they are, and I'll cut into them. And if they're a double yoker, I usually separate out that breeding group and identify who it is. And I usually call that for my breeding program.
Yep.
Because nobody wants to buy a shipped egg that won't hatch.
This is a good question. Savage Daughter Farm says, Carey, on a timeline, how quickly did you go from hobby to big breeder, and what inspired it?
Well, I would not consider myself big breeder. But,
not yet, anyhow.
So I started really ramping up my operation January of last year. So we're about 13 months into it. And right now I have 16 chicken breeding pens on the farm, and I have between 400 and 500 quail. I don't want to say that real loud. My wife's in the next room.
I had to do the same with my wife. Unbelievable.
If she saw my
funny.
feed bill.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Zen says, question, what would be your top 3 tips for people interested in starting to raise quail for meat and eggs? It's a good question.
So with that, I would choose the line that I bought to start carefully. I would not buy eggs off eBay. I would buy eggs from a verified shipper that ships in foam. And I say that because that's exactly what I did. Coturnix Corner probably got a lot of hours worth of watch time on the YouTube channel when I first started messing with quail, because I wanted to learn a whole lot, because I knew there were a lot of mistakes to make. And I would be careful with who you buy them from. I would talk to that breeder and I would say, hey, I'm wanting to raise jumbos, and I want to raise them primarily for meat and eggs. Do you have anything, or do you know somebody that does? And when you think of that with quail, you're typically looking at a 15 to 16 to 17, somewhere in there, ounce bird. It is difficult to do. I have a line that I've been working on that I can consecutively get in the 15 and change ounce range. The hardest part is the infrastructure on the actual bird itself, because when you look at a regular bird, you know, the legs are tiny. And I don't want to have the Cornish cross of quail. You know, birds that can't even move. I'm not a huge fan of that. And when my Cornishes get that way is when it's time to process them. But I would check that out first. I would do a lot of homework and buy from somebody that's doing it. And if they won't send you a picture of one of their birds on a set of scales, buy from somebody else. Bird people will brag about their birds any day of the week.
Yep. Okay, where's our question here? Sundial Fragrance says, what is your favorite quail? I guess, what is your favorite color of quail?
Barbecue.
That's a good one.
As far as color, I really don't have a favorite. I will say that I do like the Pansy Fee quite a bit, primarily because it closely relates to the houndstooth pattern that Paul Bear Bryant wore on his hat, and I am an Alabama fan.
Cool. I did not know that. Quasi Quail Farm says, Carey, what is your process for determining which birds to use in your breeding program?
So when I'm breeding for jumbo, I weigh them a lot. And when I get a bird that is above my threshold as a breeder is 15 ounces. And when I get a bird that meets that qualification, they go in a rack. And then I start looking at eggs. And I want to see consecutive 17 gram or bigger eggs. But I don't want to see double yokers. So that's how I eliminate. And until I reach that process, or until I reach that, which I have with 2 of my lines, I keep the closest ones to that. And I'd never have a problem finding somebody that wants to rest. As far as the others that I call pretty birds, I just breed them true to maintain the purity in the bloodline and the quality, to make sure that if you want a range, it's always going to be a range. If you want a Tibetan, it's always going to be a Tibetan. And if I find one that throws garbage, I cull it.
Sounds like a good breeding program. Sundial Fragrance says, why Rhode Island red chickens?
My granddaddy raised them when I was a kid.
Really?
And, you know, my granddaddy was the one that helped raise me. In the summertime, I went to his house. He picked me up from school. You know, he taught me how to do so much in life. And for me, that Rhode Island red was a way to hold on to him.
Sure. Cool. And they're beautiful birds.
Yeah.
I mean, I love sitting out with mine. They're getting their identity, I guess you'd say now. I mean, I've got some hens that are really cocky. I got one hen that every time I go out there, I'll squat down after I feed them and whatnot. She'll jump up on my knee, and you know, she's really friendly. Roosters, they're a little bit leery of me yet, but they're coming around.
Well, and that's another thing that's important in my breeding program is I don't tolerate aggression. Period.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Sometimes a hen will come out and she'll be aggressive, and sometimes a rooster, roosters more commonly, I'll find those. But it's gotten to the point now where I hardly ever have any issues with aggression unless it's provoked.
Right.
And I mean, with that, it is what it is. But yeah, like I have a grow out pen that's 10 by 10 that has some reds and some barred rocks and some black copper morans in it. And if I go and actually sit down on a bucket, I will look like the lady in Home Alone that's in the park. Like it's ridiculous.
They're cool. I mean, I forgot how much I like chickens. You know, I haven't had them in a while, so it's kind of neat having them again.
Yeah.
Savage Daughter Farm says, I guess this was for everybody, but we'll see what your thoughts are on it. Does anyone else use UV light for their quail, and have you noticed any difference if so?
So in my barn, I actually have a UVC light that is up in the peak of it. It is a very bright LED, but the main reason I have that is to kill bacteria. UVC, they use it in water purification systems. Commercial buildings use it, especially during the period where we all had to wear a lot of masks to kill germs. So with that, when I built my barn, I put it in there just to help keep germs away.
Cool. Okay. Don says, Carey, I can't see any prices on your website for eggs. How do we get prices and ship dates?
If you can't see prices, then that is a huge issue that I need to check out afterwards, because I could swear that there are prices.
I'm going to look at it right now.
Yeah, on the ones that are in stock, I see it on my end.
Yeah, I'm going to the shop right now. Yeah, I see prices. Oh, those. Yeah, I see prices. Click on up at the top, Don. Click on shop in the navigation bar.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we
if
at
you see
here?
a price, then it's available on the items that say out of stock. They're actually affiliate links.
Yeah, I see those.
But everything should be there. You know, we're in February now, so I'm comfortable shipping quail chicks, and you can actually order them off of my site as well. Obviously, we're fixing to go into the peak of breeding season, so I don't have a whole lot of live laying hens for sale.
Right.
I need them for my own use. So, but if somebody was to contact me, if they don't see something that they're looking for on my site and they want it, or they think that I have it based on a post that they've seen on my social media, please contact me, because just because it's not there could be that I haven't had time to put it there,
Exactly.
or because I didn't like the picture of it that I had. So, by all means.
All right. Promised Land Homestead says, question, what temp do you keep the room temperature at for a blue light?
Okay, so a lot of people laugh at me when I did this, but my barn actually has a rather large heater in it. It's up in the ceiling, and I've got a thermostat that keeps it about 65 on the ambient temperature inside my barn. And so the heat that they have in the brooders where I have my blue lights, on the ones that have the heat plates, it is what it is, whatever's produced by the heat plate. On the hatching time units, I start them off at about 95 degrees, and I run that for a week-ish. And once I realize that they're over a week old and they start getting a little bigger, I'll dial it down to 90. And theoretically, 5 degrees a week is what I back it down. And when they get about 3 weeks old, because my barn has an ambient temperature of 65, I cut the heat off all the way inside the brooder. And when they're ready to move into my breeding barn that I have, at that point, they're old enough where they can take whatever weather they get, as long as they don't have a lot of wind. And the only wind that's there is a generated crosswind to help keep the dander down.
Gotcha. Okay, Tracy says, question, is there a color of quail that you've tried and were not happy with and went to a different route for hatching and breeding reasons?
So, I don't like the cinnamon. They're beautiful birds to look at. They're really neat, but they are not for the rookie breeder. Right. I see people talking about, I want to get them. I've had several people order them, and when I get an order for those eggs, I talk to the person. If you've never hatched out baby quail before, those aren't going to be your first. They require more heat, less light. You got to give them more attention because of the delicateness of their eyes. But I like the bird. It's just it's a hassle, I guess. It's not the norm. So, right. Out of the ones that I have, that may be my least favorite quail to raise, but at the same time, it could be my favorite to look at.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how they would be more work.
Yeah.
Teresa says, best advice for someone just getting started with quail?
Change your mind. And I say that jokingly because everybody's heard of chicken math. Quail math is worse. Yeah. I started out with quail getting a 4-tiered breeding cage from Hatching Time, and I just wanted some eggs, and I just wanted basically science projects so I could try stuff, feed changing, nutrients in water, that sort of thing, and see the results faster than what I do with chickens. Fast forward a couple of years, and like I said, I have a lot of quail, but I like it. I like dealing with them. I like the noise they make. And, if you have the ability to devote the time to do it correctly, then I would say watch a lot of Coturnix Corner videos and learn the full endeavor of what you're getting into. And until you have a good brooding system, don't do it. Watch a lot of videos to learn. You don't have to have a hatching time brooder. My first chicks that I hatched out was in a metal water trough. Now, I will say it's very important that you lift it up off the ground at least 6 to 8 inches and insulate it from the ground, because the cold coming through Even the ground, the floor inside your house is too cold for quail. But just have a system and make sure you got all the bases covered.
Good answer.
But it's very addictive.
Okay, we already answered that question. Becky Bailey says, I think this is more of a, chicken related. Do you call the whites with black dots splash?
I call them whites.
Oh, if it's regarding quail, that would be your dotted whites. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a dotted white. That's not a splash.
Savage Daughter Farm says, Carey, where do you keep your birds? Do you have a designated shed, barn, garage?
So I have 2 barns. One barn is specifically mostly a storage shed, and I converted about 12 feet worth of it just to quail. And I got 12 feet in there where I've got 6 hatching time cages that are 4 tiers tall. And that's my breeders. Mm-hmm. And the barn that I posted the pictures of, the red barn that I have, that I just finished a couple months ago, that is where I have my hatching room in there, and I do my brooding in there. That's the one where I have the heater for the ambient temperature. So I have space in there also for my showbirds. With my showbirds, when it was in the teens and 20s, a comb that's had frostbite doesn't look really good on the show floor. So right. I bring those in, spoil them for a couple of weeks, and keep them really warm. So I did all that in my new barn, but I have 2 barns.
Okay. Nice. Sunshine Silver Rabbitry says, question, do you prioritize conformation or size? In rabbits, we say build your barn, then paint it. Would you say the same or opposite for quail?
Conformation is pretty important to me with my program because I want it duplicatable. If I send you some genetics and I tell you this is it, I want to know that that's what you're getting. So conformation is important, but the size is also important. I can't send you eggs off of a 10-ounce hen and tell you they're going to be jumbos.
Yep. Martin Yardley said something, this is back when he was on the show a couple years ago, that when you want to increase the size of a line, you breed for structure conformation first. That's all you worry about. Then once you've got that, then you worry about putting the weight on the birds. And that's kind of what I kind of followed.
Yeah, that's where I am with my jumbo white line or dotted white. The I want them big, but I need the legs to be able to hold it up. And then once I get that, which, like I said before, I'm at the 15 and change ounce range. The goal is over 16 consecutively. That's obviously the hard part. Then I'm going to start looking at the other qualities and get rid of the ones that I don't like.
Right. Oops. We dropped Carey there for a second. He'll be right back. Here we go. Dropped out real quick there. What'd you do? Freeze on your end again?
Yeah.
Huh. No, you were fine. I mean, we heard everything you were saying, and you didn't freeze for us. So I don't know why it's freezing on your end. Yeah. Okay. Quasi Quail Farm says, Carey, how do you like the hatching time brooder? I have several of their cages. Thank you, Terry. And have been considering getting one of their brooders to add to the brooders I use now. Pros and cons.
Okay, so I'm definitely on board with blaming it all on Terry. For me, the 15-inch are great with chickens, and they work okay with quail. I have a lot of issues with, obviously you've got different size quail in your brooder, and the smaller ones get out and run around. You have to chase them. If you're going to do quail and chickens, I would recommend you to get the 9-inch for quail, because they have the guard on the front, and they can get out and run around in the food, but they can't go any further. And I have both. I have 2 of the 9-inch and 6 or 7 of the 15-inch. I recently discovered the 9-inch. I had a problem with a lot of escaping quail, and I said, I'm going to try this and see if it fixes that problem. And it did. So I would say if somebody raises quail and chickens, get one of each, or get the 9-inch and take the chickens out a lot quicker. But if you're talking about for quail, I love the 9-inch. They are expensive, I will say that, but they're worth it. I really like them for brooding.
Have you had any issues in the summertime using them? Because I had one in the summertime, and it was just too hot. I turned off the heating element altogether, and it was warm enough in there just with the ambient temperatures in my shop for the chicks. So
yes, that is true. In the summertime, when I have them in those brooders, I do tend to set the temperature a little low, but I also have some 36-inch fans in my old barn that I had. And in the new barn where I do my brooding, once it becomes an issue, I actually have an air conditioning unit system that's going to go in there, so I can keep the temperature below 90.
Yep.
That's my goal. I insulated the walls, and I'm going to spray foam the ceiling in the barn. So, and I know that quail tend to lay better below 90 degrees. So I'm going to, hopefully I can keep it, in the 80s in there at least.
Yeah.
Nice. I do have a 26-inch fan. You and I talked about the dander buildup inside your shop, and that was a huge thing for me. So for what I did for me personally is I got a 20-inch fan that I want to say it moves a really ridiculous amount of air. I think it'll circulate the air all the air in the building like once a minute. And so I do that. And even on days now, because in Alabama the weather's crazy, when it heats up to where it's really hot inside the barn, I have my fan on a temperature controller, and when it hits 75, it'll start pulling air in, and it cools down really quick.
All right. Nice. Yeah, my main issue with the dander, if I had a barn like you did and I could, have a good ventilation system, I'd still keep birds inside a barn. But with my shop, or my quail room at the time, is underneath the roof of my house. You know what I mean? So my wife said she'd get up in the morning. She said she could smell the quail in the house. I never could, but she said she could. And I don't know. Anyhow, you got to do what the wife says. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we ended up having
first.
to do that.
You got to keep her happy.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when I was setting up the barn that I use to brood in and hatch in, and run my test, I have my test subjects I keep in there too. I learned a lot about the problems that you were having, and I had several conversations with Jennifer and with Rebecca about their setups and issues. And all of the things I asked people, if you could have something in your barn, what would you have before I built mine? Which is why I have a utility sink in there, hot water in there, heat, air conditioning, all that stuff, and a ridiculous amount of ventilation, because those are all things that a lot of people said they wish they had.
Right. Yeah, and the dust and the dander, you don't want to be breathing that stuff. You know, it might not seem bad. I mean, I could go out in the quail room and work all day long. It never bothered me back when I first started doing it. But it was getting to where every time I'd walk out into the quail room, my nose would start running. I'd get a tickle in my throat, and it was crazy. Even this past Sunday, you were on the live stream Sunday. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you noticed, but I was kind of hacking and coughing the whole thing. Yep. From the chicks behind me, you know, so they got to go outside.
I have air scrubbers in mine too.
Yeah, nice.
Those have helped a lot, even with the dander that was really tiny that the other fan wouldn't pick up and pull out of the room. Mm-hmm. I just had those in the floor, and they run on low 24/7. Good. And every so often, I take the filters out, clean the filters out, and get going with them. The fans have probably been the best investment yet. The exhaust fan has been huge, and the scrubber fans have been great.
Hold on. Okay, next question is also going to be the winner of our giveaway of a 30 count of Gopher Ridge. Is it Gopher Ridge? Yeah, 30 count mixed hatching eggs from Gopher Ridge quail. And that is going to Sundial Fragrance. And the question there is, what type of feed do you give the quail? And what do you feed your chicks and laying hens?
So I have been feeding Kalmbach. I've actually been working for the last couple months with Jeff Maddox for Trail, and I am making some feed right now.
Really?
And yeah, I started having the commodities trucked in last month, and I'm going to making showbird formulas and breeding formulas, starters, all that stuff that specifically meets the nutritional requirements for the birds. And I'm doing some research and development with it right now, starting from the hatch all the way up to full grown. And again, that's something that's a lot easier to do with quail.
Yeah.
But we're in the process of putting all that together. So, you know, sometime pretty soon you're going to see Champions Blend.
I was going to say, do you ship?
I will be shipping. That I've gotten that asked a lot. I will be shipping, and it's going to be a thing. Mm-hmm. But Gathering Gold Feed and Champions Blend is the two names. I'll have one that's designed for showbirds, and I'll have one that is designed for your meat and egg type birds.
Yeah.
So
well, working with Jeff, I mean, that guy's amazing. You know, so I'm sure it'll be a quality feed.
I don't understand how he just keeps all that stuff.
I know.
Here.
I know it.
Like,
I mean, he knows the numbers and the ingredients. Half of those ingredients I can't even, say. he knows it. So, no, I'm really happy that Rebecca turned us on to Jeff and got him on the show, because he did an amazing 2 live streams actually, and answered a bunch of questions or whatnot.
So when he gave me the recipes, he put together everything. And I don't know what 0.007 pounds is.
Right.
And I was talking to him the other day, and I said, yeah, I've got the formula in my Excel sheet, and I'm getting everything. I'm making it. I've got some chicks that are hatching out, and they're going to get on the starter. They're going to get on the grower, the developer. I'm going to follow that line and weigh them every week and see what happens. And I said, I need to get that in grams, so I got to calculate that out. And he says, oh, well, you just look at it and you divide by or multiply by 430, 453.6, because there's 453.6 grams in a pound. And I was like,
okay.
I mean,
how do you know these things?
I knew there was 28 grams in an ounce, but I hadn't calculated it all the way out to a pound. He just pulled it right off the tip of his tongue.
Right.
Extremely intelligent.
Yes, he is. I'm actually using Kalmbach, and I want to try. Rebecca told me there's a Fertrell, I think it's a show additive or something that you can add to it that's supposed to really help.
There's a Fertrell show breeder supplement.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it and use it the way it's recommended, even the Kalmbach feed does not have the proper amino acids. They're a little low. They're a little low on the fat content of what a bird should have. And if you use what they recommend, a teaspoon per bird, which obviously is less for a quail, but the way I mix mine up is I do it by the pound. And but if you do that and you put the Fertrell show breeder supplement in there, it gives them the amino acids that they need. Mm-hmm. And that really has been a pretty big issue for me. In I can put, sadly, 180 eggs in my incubator to check fertility, and I had 2 that didn't hatch. And that's after being on Kalmbach with the show breeder supplement, because it also helps with the fertility. So I'm a huge believer in that stuff. I was actually have a 50-pound bag of it that was delivered, and the Fertrell products will be in the feeds that I'm making.
Cool. All right, Zen says, how do you like your hatching time cages?
2 thumbs up.
I've always had good luck with them.
There's other ways to do it out there. The cages that Terry made in the beginning, where he made his own and did the watering system and the feeding system, that's great. If you have time to make all that stuff, do it. You'll save yourself a lot of money. But for me, it was the all-in-one, get it, assemble it. You got your feed system, your water system, everything's there. When it gets dirty, you pressure wash it and call it a day. And I really like systems.
Okay. Yeah, no, they work great. I mean, I've had the wood frame cages like when I first started. Then I got into building my own wire cages that were in a wood rack. Them worked really good. As a matter of fact, I got rid of all my old wood frame cages and just went with all wire. But I also had, one side of my shop was all wire cages. The other side of my shop was all hatching time cages. So, yeah, no, they worked really good for me. Okay, Sundial Fragrance says, question, do you feed the roosters a different feed from the hens, a laying hen?
Nope.
Me neither. Okay, Promised Land says, question, since you're into homesteading, have you looked into doing things off-grid, like off-grid way of keeping the chicks warm? We would like to eventually do things off-grid.
I have looked into it because I have heat and air conditioning in my brooding barn, and I have so many brooders and incubators. I mean, the power consumption alone is pretty high. My dad has solar on his house, and I know the price tag that he spent on that. It is doable. There are people that actually make standalone systems that will work on a barn to brood birds, but they will not heat the ambient temperature and air condition the place. And it's to get solar to do that, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of solar panels to produce the power you need to run all them fans and whatnot. So
yep.
All right, Savage Daughter Farm says, talking to Terry, finally tried the barbecued quail. I have to say you were right. Don't know if I'll do them any other way. I love my quail barbecued. Virginia says, I'm in South Texas. Who should I order quail eggs from? What's your idea on?
Well, with it being South Texas, I would say any of the people on your breeder's recommendation video that you did, we would all be about the same distance from you. So shipping would be about the same for any of us. Obviously, if Southwest Game Birds was still shipping eggs, they're just a little north of you, so you get them a little quicker, but they're not. So,
I used to get eggs all the time from Southwest Game Birds, from Arizona to Florida, and I still got excellent hatch rates,
Yeah, I have too. So. I would be a little partial to myself, but I would say that Rebecca and Jennifer both have very good bloodlines, and they do really well with shipping. I've also got some stuff from H.P. Murray, and he does stuff really well also. So I actually got some whites from him.
Okay. Jennifer says, ask Carey about his feed. We already did that, Jennifer. He gave us the rundown. Let's see. Jesse Benborn, has anyone used for trail and had eggs taste fishy?
So if you're using for trail and your eggs taste fishy, you're using too much of it. It does have fish meal in it. And you probably should closer follow the recommended amounts. Your feed is not as bad as you think it is that you're mixing it with.
This is more of a genetics question from Andy Rabbit. It says, what's the best way to carry on the cinnamons? What if we only end up with just one sex? What's a way to breed it to? How many generations to get it back to cinnamon, or is it just a cinnamon to cinnamon only?
I mean, if you're going to try to breed something back to cinnamon, you're probably going to be 2 years into it. The cinnamons, I know when Michael first started with them, it was a very long project to get them to breed true. And, they do breed true now. And I would not even try. If I ordered a dozen cinnamon eggs and I only got one hatch out, that would not be good. But I would probably order some more eggs. And I see a lot in a lot of groups, people will spend a ridiculous amount of money on eggs and have a $30 incubator off of Amazon. And I don't recommend that.
Yep. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm working on a video right now on dialing in your incubator, whatever style. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that like to use the inexpensive, Chinese models, and if that's all they can afford, fine. But we're going to go about dialing them in and getting them to their best chances of getting a decent hatch.
And I mean, I've had good results. I have quite a few of those under $100 incubators that I've ordered off of Amazon just for that. Mm-hmm. And I will say that if you're going to use one of those, get some cheap eggs first to dial it in, like you said, sure. Because, for the NR360, I have to use a beach towel to wrap around it to keep the temperature stable.
Well, I'm finding out that that's even happening with, some higher end plastic incubators, like the Baratos and the Brinzies. If it's cold enough, that plastic just can't hold the heat, and the heating element can't keep up with it. You got so much cold coming in from underneath, and it just can't keep up with it. So, we're going to cover all that in this upcoming video. Hopefully, I'll have it out by the end of the week. Nice. Jesse Ben Bourne says, I have one hen that consistently lays double yolkers that are around 23 grams. Is she more prone to prolapse?
I would say if you're feeding her nutritious food, probably not until she gets later on in age. And, if you're eating those eggs, 2 thumbs up. It's a twofer. I would not breed that bird personally. I have tried to hatch double yolkers, chicken and quail multiple times just to see, and I've never been successful.
Right.
I do know somebody that did successfully hatch a chicken, but the chicken had 4 legs.
I had the exact same thing happen with the quail. It was a double yoker, and one of them absorbed the other chick, and had a 4-legged chick. Mark says, "How long you been selling quail?"
A little over a year.
Okay. John says, "Hi, I'm from Katy, Texas. How can I order eggs from him?" What's your website again, Carey?
RRFarmsAL.com.
Okay. Oh, here's our answer to the blue fawn question. Thieving Out of Farm says, "Blue fawn will breed true if you have a homozygous fawn and a homozygous blue." There you go. I knew she would know.
I knew they'd both have to be homozygous. If you have a homozygous and a heterozygous, you're rolling dice.
Jesse Ben Born says, "How many did you start with just for meat and eggs?"
That's a tricky question because the meat and eggs came after the science project. I got into quail because I wanted to learn about genetics, and I wanted to learn about feed and water and how they all played a factor into it, because I can find out the answer to stuff a lot faster than I can with chickens. And a lot of people wanted them. So it just kind of turned into a thing and grew from there. But the meat and eggs part came several months later. And I probably started with about 200-ish.
Well, you started a lot more than I did. I think I started out with like 25. And it just kind of grew from there.
I ordered a bunch of hatching eggs from a couple of different places that had jumbos, what they called jumbos. And I wanted to, I kept them all separate while I was checking the consistency of the genetics between the different ones. And I took the cream of the crop from each one and started my program that I do where, work on the infrastructure first and then pack on the pounds.
Yep.
Or ounces.
Rabbit Homesteading said, "Agreed, Carey. Pay the extra for good breeding. Start with. Still not a crazy amount of more money, and good to start with a great breed. From there, way better and pays off." Yeah, I agree. You can afford it by the.
That's true, and I'll say this: I have a friend of mine that shows chickens, and she ordered some expensive eggs. Got them low hatch rate. It didn't turn out. Spent $300 on eggs, and none of them were what they needed to be. Spent $400 buying a trio that were all great birds. So she spent $100 more, but she got a trio of great birds that she can work with from a good breeder. Right. So, it's not a whole lot more money when you think about it in the long run, and it's a lot faster.
Sure. Let's see. Oh, my buddy Del Choo-Choo's in the house. How you doing, Juan? Glad you could join us tonight. All right, dog. Go on. What do you want? All right, you got to get down early. Come on.
She just wants a little loving.
I don't know I don't know if she wants out. What do you want? You want to get out of here? Hold on a second here. Come on, man. Come on. Go on. I don't know if she wanted out or not. She'll probably be scratching back at the door here in a second. Let's see where we at. Teresa says, "Best resources to start learning about quail genetics." Well, I can tell you right off the start, there is a playlist here on the channel, Beginners Genetics, with Allie from Maine's Confetti Quail Farm.
I would start with Coturnix Corner. It's going to be your most cost friendly, and I will say that if you want to dive overly deep into it, that I would sign up for Michael's program.
Exactly.
But I would not do that until I looked at a lot of videos. Because there again, it's going to be something that you either want to get kind of into it or really
Go
deep
full
into
bore.
it.
Yep.
And you're going to have to find your happy medium. I will say that I do pay a monthly subscription to Michael's breeding program, and it's solid.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that you won't find better information out there. And for that breeding program, guys, if you're interested in checking it out, the website is ccquail.com. And it's called Quailology is the name of his course.
Mm-hmm.
And also check out the Facebook group, Coturnix Colors and Genetics. They got a lot of good information over there.
Yep, they do.
Okay, Donald says, question, I'm just starting out and have a small flock of 8, 4 jumbo whites and 4 jumbo mixed. I also have 12 celadon eggs in the incubator. Would I be able to eventually selectively breed a jumbo white celadon?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
The fact that you're wanting to do a jumbo white celadon, if none of your celadons are white, you're going to have to get the color out of what you have, but it can be done.
I think we were talking about that not too long ago. Rebecca and Michael came on and did a live stream on celadons, keeping and breeding celadons. Check that out. It's one of the recent live streams. Tons of good information in there on that. Mr. Mata says, what's considered a jumbo quail?
In my book, anything over 15 ounces, but a lot of people consider anything over 12.
Yeah, there's an old saying that goes around, and I still hear it today. It's 10 ounces by 10 weeks. But I see so many birds that are breaking 12 and 13 ounces at 10 weeks. You know, so why stick with 10 if we're already getting 12, you know? I think they should kind of redo that and say, 12 ounces at 10 weeks. That's a jumbo classification. And I knew the dog was going to want to come back in. Hold on, guys.
Probably just needed to go grab a snack.
Come on, Cookie. It could have been. Big lazy girl. Come on.
Cookie needed a cookie.
Cookie wanted a cookie. Come on, girl. There you go. All right, let's see. Promised Land Homestead says, do you find that particular colors of quail lay better all the way through the winter than others without artificial light? Cookie, no. Quit it.
I haven't tested that. In both my barns, I have light that's on an 18-hour cycle. And even in my breeder barn that's not temperature controlled, I was getting a ridiculous amount of eggs when it was 15 degrees here. I think it was only getting like in the 20s or 30s inside that barn, but they were still laying prolifically. Bree, a lot of people probably know her. She lives in
Upper Peninsula, Michigan right now.
yeah. And she has, I've seen pictures of her outdoor cage with a foot of snow on top of it, and she's still getting eggs.
Yeah. Okay, David says, do you adjust your heat plates as the quail grow?
I do raise them up. I want it to be, if the quail is standing, I want it to be just a little above their head, so the heat, they lay down, and I do raise them up.
Joy says, oh, we lost Carey. He'll be right back. Joy says, is there any... Hold on a minute. Joy saying, you dropped out for a second. We can still hear you, but I don't know why that's dropping like that. Joy saying, is there a difference in fertility between eggs that candle green and the ones that candle yellow or orange? I candle for cracks. I can't see before they go into the incubator.
So I usually don't candle. When one of my Balut customers has an order in and I've got some just for them, I will candle theirs at about a week, just so I can make sure I get them what they want. And if I see one that lights up green, it's usually not viable.
Right.
But if you're candling for cracks and stuff in the beginning, you can't go with that. You've got to have it at least a week to know. Some people can tell earlier, but I do things on the week. I set them on Fridays or Saturdays, and the next weekend I'll candle them, and I'll know my balut. As far as the rest of the eggs, no, I couldn't. I mean, I've got probably 300 and some eggs in one of my incubators right now. I couldn't candle that.
Okay, Jesse Van Boren says, how did the nutrients in the water experiment go?
So what I've found is there's two things that I do. I do add apple cider vinegar to my water. A lot of people say, oh, they have their own opinions, but that goes back to Jeff Maddox. He's been doing it for 40 years, and if he says it's good in my book. So there's a mix that I do now, and I don't do it all the time. I usually only do it about once a week. I will fill up my waters with it. Let me look real quick and see. I know it's got his electrolyte water mix. Now this is per gallon, but I use 2 ounces of apple cider vinegar, an ounce of molasses, a tablespoon of granulated ginger, fresh if possible, a tablespoon of salt, and a gallon of water. And I have found that doing that in the summer months especially, they don't get dehydrated. They don't fly and flutter when I come into either the quail or the chickens, and it works out really well with them. Also, I'll throw in some extra B vitamins. B vitamins, you can never have enough of those for your birds. And I mean, for that, really, I like a calm bird. I don't want to stick my hand in a cage and have them freak out and get scared. So I use the B vitamins to help with that.
Okay. Hiram says, do you insulate your heated shed?
Yes. I want to say the walls are R13 and the roof is going to be whatever 3 inches of closed cell foam will get you.
Right. Nice. Quasi Curl Farm says, I believe Terry has talked about it in this video, but what is the weight where it goes from regular to being considered jumbo?
Yeah. Like we talked about before, a lot of people say 10 by 10. Some people stretch that to 12. For me personally, I want to see something over 14 to 15 ounces. But that's primarily because of my goal of providing that sustainable meat and eggs.
Yeah. I think the standards run like between, this is adult birds now, like 10 to 12 ounces. They consider them standards, anything lower than that. And then above 12 ounces would be in the jumbo category. Somewhere there's a sheet that gives the size for bantams, standards, and jumbos. I'll see if I can't find it, and I'll put that over on the Facebook group page.
Okay.
Let's see here. Modified Chevy says, questions. What do you use for an incubator, and what is your humidity setup and practice?
So right now I have a GQF 1502 and I have a Hatching Time CT 180. The 1502, I will only use it for incubating because regulating humidity with it is atrocious. And cleaning it is as worse or worse. I'm a huge fan of the Hatching Time because they have the up and down arrows that I can set my temperature and my humidity, whatever I want. It maintains it, and I can open the back door on it to clean it out real easily. I can pressure wash my Hatching Time. I cannot pressure wash my GQF.
Right.
But those are the two types that I have.
Yeah, I've got a Hatching Time sitting right here. As a matter of fact, it's got about 24 more soaky eggs in there. I just put them into lockdown yesterday. But no, I love the hatching time. Matter of fact, on Facebook, I noticed yesterday, Hatching Time put out another one of their commercials promoting the CT series. Something about being easy to clean. Had a picture of me hosing out my incubator.
Yep.
That was an old picture. I mean, that was got to be 4 or 5 years ago.
And that's actually what got me. I was looking at it, and I found that GQF, and I wasn't going to buy it, but I needed more incubator. Yeah. And a friend of mine said, use it for hatching. So that's what I do. I will say my wife has a conference that she's going to in a few weeks. CT 180 may arrive while she's gone.
I need to send you one of them Terry baiters. You'd be surprised once that thing's dialed in. You'd be surprised at how well it works. I mean, I've been using my big one
to try it.
I'll send you one. I've been using my big one for better than 5 years now, and when it's dialed in, it does just as well as the Hatching Time. But I really don't have humidity issues down here in Florida. I mean, I do a dry hatch for 14 days, and then I'll put one tray, like a 12 by 14 inch tray, in the bottom of my box, and fill that up for lockdown, and it usually gets me up around 60-65%.
Well, I know that you came out with a Terry Baiter Mini. I was actually waiting on the Terry Baiter Jumbo, and I was
the 3 or 4 shelfer.
Use that, yeah.
I don't know. It might be in the works. The problem with going bigger is, and I'm finding this out with just the regular size one, is shipping. I mean, getting the boxes, and once you get over 24 inches on a box, the shipping costs just skyrocket.
If you have a jumbo, I'll be coming down to my place in Panama City.
There you go.
In June. I'll just come pick it up.
There you go. That one would take some testing, because we got to get the heating elements right, the fan sizes right. So, but yeah,
I was
it's
actually
doable.
Looking at converting an upright deep freeze into a hatcher.
Yeah.
And I was going to use a combination of light bulbs and the ceramic elements and some fans.
I think you'd be better off with a resistive heating element. I've actually seen a couple of them that were done using regular electric stovetop heating elements, and they put off good heat as long as you got the air flowing through them. They don't get red hot like you'd see on your stove, and you could also hook up a voltage reducer. Like a you know what I'm talking about.
See, that just sounds like a lot of headache and a fire waiting to happen. I would probably just order another CT 180.
Yeah, there you go. It's already built. You don't have to worry about it. Okay,
now,
here we go.
When you get the Terry Baiter Jumbo, I'll try it.
Zen says, question, how big do these... Wait a minute. How big do these is feasible to breed quail? I could see them topping out at potentially 18 to 20 ounces. Do you see that in the future? That's a big bird.
I'm going to be honest. Before I would shoot for an 18 to 20 ounce quail, I would get a chicken. That. I mean, I don't know. It may be possible with breeding, and you may be able to get the infrastructure that big to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just dancing too much into Cornish cross territory. Right. And I really don't want to do that.
Jesse Van Born said, will your feed be the same for both chicks and adults?
No. The nutritional requirements for chicks is a lot different than adults.
Right. Okay, Ed says, question, in windy Wyoming, do shipped eggs get a high mortality rate from the cold?
I mean, I don't know. I would be willing to try it, but and I actually have some styrofoam coolers that I have used to ship eggs in over the wintertime to help. I don't really think it's so much as a cold as long as they don't freeze. I think it's a rapid change in temperature that kills the hatchability of them. That's just my opinion. I don't have the science to back that. I haven't tested it, but I've used coolers to ship them up north and had really good luck.
Okay. Andy Rabbit says, Carey, have you noticed in your hatching time cages that the quail's toenails overgrow?
I have not.
Me neither.
But
Curious.
I also cull pretty hard in June. Breeding season slows down. And, I usually go through and work on my freezer at that point. So I don't have a whole lot of them that are really over a year old. For that, I haven't had that issue.
Yeah, me neither. Child of God says, question, I was using Kalmbach, but a local store quit selling it, and Chewy's price jumped for what I was getting. What would be the next best? I have birds because I enjoy them, not to sell.
That would depend on where you are, because a lot of feed is very regional. I would say look at a lot of your feed tags and use the show breeder supplement to get it what it needs. I used to get my Kalmbach off of Chewy, but around the first of the year, the prices went up considerably. So I had to drive. That's what made me do the final. Hey, you need to order 4,000 pounds of commodities. Start making your own.
Yeah, right.
So,
okay.
in that way, I know what goes into it.
Right. Tim says, how do you prioritize your males for breeding? Behavior versus looks or health, or looks/health?
I don't really care about looks as long as they look like they genetically should. As far as the coloring and stuff, because I want to make sure I'm breeding true. Behavior is important, and health is important. If it doesn't have the frame to support the weight, then it's not going to have the vigor that it needs to survive.
Okay. Andy says, question, Carey, how long have you been into quail? When did you decide to go into selling? And how did you get your first quail?
Little over a year. And I started selling several months back just because that increasing feed bill. And I do know that, I have genetics from a few of the top breeders in the country. So people have asked for them, and it offsets my feed bill.
Yep, definitely. Jesse Ben Bourne says, I read somewhere about giant quail. Is that a thing?
I mean, I'm hoping.
Well, they got... I've never seen them, but I've heard they call them Goliath quail. They're supposed to be pushing like 18 to 20 ounces. Never seen one, and I've asked for pictures, birds on a scale. That never happens, so...
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. When you see a breeder that's making a claim, ask for pictures. They will brag about their birds.
Yeah. This Savage Daughter Farms with Terry, you want to show us that silky chick again? Or the silky chicks again? I don't think so, not tonight. And for those of you who don't know what she's talking about, I showed one Sunday on a live stream, and he pooped on my hand. Nice bird.
I figured that was Terry Bader 3.0 was the silkies.
Yeah. Haas says, what's the reason to add vinegar to the water? First time hearing it.
I'm not sure about the science behind it. I just know that that's something that Jeff had recommended to be in the mix for the apple cider vinegar, and it works.
Yeah. Make sure it's the vinegar with the mother, like Bragg's. Bragg's is what I use.
It needs to have that. I think the purpose behind the vinegar and the salt is the salty aspect of it, to force them to drink more water.
Really?
It really hydrates them really well. It's really no different than a person drinking a Gatorade.
Okay, cool. I always thought it helped with their gut biome, help the probiotics and whatnot. Kind of.
I think that's the purpose of the apple cider vinegar is the gut health, it being natural for the gut health and increasing the thirst.
Right. Cool. Phil says, how do I count the days for balut? It's day one. It is day one the day you start your eggs, or 24 hours later in the incubator.
I do not break it down to the number of hours. I put them in on a Friday afternoon, and I go check them in the afternoon on the day that I need to check them. Like when we were talking about candling them, I put them in on Friday afternoon. Friday when I get home from work, I'm going to candle them. I don't break down to the actual number of hours. I just do it in days.
Mm-hmm. So on what day are you actually selling the egg as a balut egg? Like 13 or 14 or?
No, for quail, they like 12.
Okay.
I found that to be a good sweet spot. And it's a little longer for chickens and ducks. But, yeah.
Cool. Chris says, how did you get customers for the balut?
My wife gets her nails done regularly, and she took some quail eggs to somebody up there, the lady that's been doing her nails for years, and I told her to ask the lady if she knew what balut was. And after I explained to my wife what it was, she looked at me really funny. But she asked the person, and she started talking instantly about how much she loved it. It reminded her of home. It was a traditional thing for them. And she said, she opened it up and said, I wish I knew where I could get some here, because I can only get that when I go see my parents. And my wife said, my husband makes it. And I got an order that time for 4 dozen, and I took them, and usually now they'll order 10 to 15 dozen just at that one location at a time.
Wow. What do you get for balut eggs?
So I have been told that I'm very cheap, but I get $10 a dozen regardless of what kind it is.
Yeah, that's about what I was saying down here. It's $1 an egg down here is average for balut.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, like I said, I know that's cheap at $10, but it's a round number. And typically, most of my places will order quail and chicken at the same time, so it balances out.
Yep. Cool. Promised Land Homestead says, what's your most sought-after color?
The most egg orders that I feel are either Pharaoh or the hen's choice. I sell a lot of the hen's choice because a lot of people like the surprise of whatever they're getting. And as I add ones to the variety, I add it to the list on my website.
Okay. Promised Land Homestead, that question just got you a $50 gift certificate from Hatching Time. So,
all right.
Don't forget to send me your shipping information. Make sure, Promised Land Homestead, make sure I get a good email for you, because that's how they send you the gift certificate. And for all of you people that I called Savage Daughter, Sundial Fragrance, Promised Land, make sure when you email me that you give me also your channel name or your business name, whatever, along with your name. Because I don't want to get you guys mixed up when it comes to who's going to get what. Okay, I think that brings us down to the bottom. One last question for Robin says, how do you cull yours? And I don't know.
So if they're a chick, I use the spinal dislocation. And if they're an adult bird, There's a member of the Coturnix Corner that sells a quail pop on Etsy. I can't remember his name, but it's your fault because it's the one you have. It works. Really simple.
I have one here somewhere, but I don't see it. Somewhere here. Yeah, he had just sent me another one.
Or the other thing that I blame on Terry is the Cutco shears.
Oh, I love them. Favorite scissors.
Again, they're worth the money.
Yep. They're over $100, but they'll last you forever, and they're warranted forever. I mean, if you lose half of them or you break it or whatever, just call them up, send it in, and they'll send you a new one back. So.
Or if they get dull because one of your kids cut something that they should not, if you ship them to them, they will sharpen them and send them back.
Exactly. Yep.
And you make that child pay for the shipping to learn the lesson.
Exactly. Cool. All right, that brings us down to the bottom of the list. And we've got all our giveaways taken care of. Perfect. I do want to say next week, guys, we have Leah Koulis from Southern Biophiliac Farm is going to be joining us for another farm introduction type video. Anita Garrett says quail pop from Foggy Forest Farm.
That's it.
Sounds about right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I think we've got all our questions taken care of. Well, we got one more. Jesse says, how do you get set up with the gas for those who sell reptiles? Oh, I guess for gassing the birds?
Yeah, the nitrogen. Find a welding supply company. If they have the oxygen and acetylene and all that kind of stuff, they can usually get you the nitrogen and they won't look at you like you're crazy.
Okay, good to know. All right. Carey, thanks a million for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
A lot of good info tonight, and I'm glad, we got... What I'm trying to do with this whole farm introduction thing is getting people to know the farms that they're working with. I'm sure a lot of people in here now would feel 100% confident in ordering from you. So hopefully we can do that. And I'm going to try to only bring on breeders that I would actually order eggs from. If I'm going to refer them, it's going to be people that I trust, people that I know how they're raising their birds and whatnot. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, we have Leah Koulis from Southern Biophiliac Farm will be here next week, Tuesday. And don't forget, if you guys are available Sunday, join us on Morning Musings. And that's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the channel. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and pull the plug on it tonight. I still got to head up to the store, and I got incubators I got to build tonight. But Carey, hang around. Don't hang up. I want to talk to you a minute before we go. So, everyone have a great night, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week also.